Would you pray with me? God of all love, you have washed us to make us your own, and you make us beautiful in your sight. Grant, Lord, that we would not trust in our own beauty, but that we would trust in your actions to make us beautiful. Meet us here, we ask, in the name of Jesus our Lord. Amen. We've been walking through baptism together as a congregation and trying to investigate and focus our lives on this thing that the church has held to be a pillar of our faith, baptism. Understanding it as something that God is accomplishing in us and for us and to us. And I've noticed that generally people have two mistakes when they think about baptism. And the first is this one. One mistake you can have is you can think of baptism as a magic trick. Okay? You can think of it like a magic potion. So when you come to be baptized, the pastor, the priest, he mixes up a little concoction for you, and poof, he baptizes you, and you're done. Right? It's like a magic trick. Lutherans tend to be in this bucket. We think of our baptisms as a magic trick, in that once it's done, everything's finished, and we don't have to pay attention to the word into which we're baptized. We don't have to listen to the one who's baptizing us anymore. If this is what you think about baptism, likely once you got your kids baptized, you didn't come back to church until they were confirmed. Okay? This is what happens when we think of baptism as a simple magic potion. That it's kind of this one and done magic thing that happens that gives us license to do whatever we want and ignore the person that we're baptized by and into. And this is the first way that we can really get baptism wrong. The second way is this. We can think that baptism is a human effort. We can think that baptism is a human effort, that it's a way that we show our dedication to God. It's a way that we prove ourselves and our love to Him by following His command, which is good, but that primarily who's doing the stuff in baptism is us and our hands and our wills and our strength. And so if this is how you think, you likely would not get baptized until you're older in life, until you have mustered some strength to do something on your own, right? You won't get baptized in life until you're confident that you have the power to see it through, that you have the power to prove to God how much you love Him. And this is another thing that's wrong. And one way that I'll explain to you why this is a mistake is because if you just read the scriptures and read who is doing what in baptism, it's never the humans doing anything in baptism. Baptism is always talked about as God is the one doing the verbs. He's the one completing the actions. He's doing it. Last week, we talked about how in baptism, God puts His name onto us. Now, again, notice, we don't put God's name onto us. God puts His name onto us. And by that, He means that you are mine. You belong to my family. You are included in my name. This week, we're going to talk about how God in baptism washes us and makes us beautiful. Again, notice, it's not us washing ourselves. It is God washing us. I am frustrated with the word love. I think in general it's lost most of its meaning. You can love anything in this life. My son loves peanut butter. he's also learning to love his mother on Mother's Day. But we use the same word to describe our actions to two very different things, right? Peanut butter and a mother. You can love anything. Love can mean getting sugar, right? So if you go down to the southern United States, they'll say, I'll just put a little love on that. And by that they mean put some sugar on it, right? Put some sugar on your cereal. That's love. And maybe that's a reason why there is kind of a weight problem in the southern states, because that's what they think love is, right? Is sweets. I think I'm crazy, but I don't know. It could mean almost anything in life. We love all kinds of things. We say it here and there and all over the place for almost any type of relationship there is. Right? Love can mean friendship. Love can mean that video you saw on the internet. Love can mean your new car. Love can mean the way that you think about a politician. Love can be the way you think about gummy worms. Right? It's just ubiquitous, and so it loses much of its meaning. We overdefine it, and so it just becomes meaningless to us. It's kind of like a sentiment, like two kids roller skating backwards holding hands, right? This is love. We also let celebrities define love for us. And this is of great irony, because when was the last time you heard of a celebrity marriage lasting 65 years? But the ones who teach us the most about love in our culture are those who sing the pop songs, who are not able to make it for many years, often, and those who are acting in our romantic comedies, right? And that's what we think love is, and I want that word back. I want it to mean something again, and I want it to mean something that matters. So that when we say, I love you, it means something. Or when God says to us, I love you, we don't just brush it off because it means the same thing as if he said, I love gummy bears. But it hits us in our heart. It means something important. I think this is why God speaks to us in images about his love. He doesn't want the word love to be hijacked and to mean a bunch of useless things. He wants it to mean specific things. And so he often talks about his love for us using pictures. And today we went over a few pictures in the scriptures. The first one was in Ezekiel chapter 16, where God describes us, or he describes Israel, as a newborn infant that nobody wanted, right? That was cast away into a field, that its cord wasn't even cut, that no one put salt on it to avoid infection, no one wrapped it, no one looked at it with compassion, and it was thrown into a field. And he says, my love is like this. It's like a man who walks by and sees an infant, helpless, wallowing in its own blood, and has compassion on it, and picks it up, and washes it off, and cleans it, and makes it his own, and dresses it in the finest of clothes, and feeds it the finest of flour, and makes it beautiful. An infant, helpless, that no one wanted, he claimed for his own. And he says, this is love. This is love. When you were unlovable, when you were powerless, that's when I loved you. That's when I picked you up, and I gave you a place and a name, and I made you beautiful. When you had nothing to do with it. When the only thing that was in your future was a quick and sure death, I came to you and I found you and I made you my own. He says, this is love. Later in the story, and it's an allegory, keep that in mind, but he comes back and this creature that is beautiful now because of the care that he had given to it is now a woman. And he says, I made this woman my bride, and I washed the blood off of her. I made her beautiful, and I clothed her in white and silk and the finest things, and I became her husband. And this is another picture. He says, before you were beautiful, I loved you. Before you could do anything for me, I looked at you and I made you beautiful by my actions. I washed you and made you perfect and made you beautiful. And this is love. I've been married almost 8 years, and so I'm a rookie. But one thing I've learned, and I cannot take credit for this, but a much wiser friend of mine, he challenged me on the way that you would think about your wife. So he said, good husbands, they don't expect their wives to be beautiful. They make their wives beautiful. Good husbands never compare their wife to some other standard of beauty. Right? They never hold up the latest magazine and then look back at their wife. They never do that, right? Because part of the secret is wives are already doing that, right? But a good husband will make his wife the standard of beauty. The standard, right? And so when a husband takes a wife to be his own, he looks at her and says, this is the most beautiful woman I have ever seen. There is no creature in heaven or earth that is more beautiful than the one that God is giving to me right now. This is beauty. Everything else can't hold a candle to this beauty. This is beautiful, right? And God says that this is a picture of love. That though the reality or by other perspectives, we might think this is not a beautiful person. That like a good husband, God looks at us and says, though you have blemishes, I make you beautiful by my actions and by my washing. I make you, in my perspective, beautiful. And I tell you this over and over again. In my eyes, you are flawless. In my eyes, you are blameless. In my eyes, there is nothing more desirable. There is nothing more beautiful. This is a picture of love that God gives to us so that we don't lose the meaning of love. In Ephesians chapter 5, we have this beautiful description of love between a husband and a wife. And the great secret in this passage is that he's not talking about husbands and wives primarily. He's talking about Jesus and the way he treats the church. He says husbands should love their wives in this way. They should lay down their life for them. Love looks like something. It looks like people laying down their lives for the sake of someone else. It looks like Jesus on the cross, laying his life down for those he loves, allowing himself to be killed and tortured for the sake and the good of the one that he intends to keep. This is love. That God laid down his life and allowed himself to be killed so that the church could live. And then he says this, that he makes the church beautiful by cleansing her and sanctifying her by the washing of water with the word. And friends, this is baptism. This is what he's talking about. That Jesus makes you beautiful by washing you with water and the word. And this is baptism. And it's in this baptism that he looks at us and says, you're spotless. You're perfect. You're lovable. I embrace you. You are the one I desire. You are the beautiful one, my beloved. This is love. We have about 1 million definitions for love. But today, I want you to look at Angie and Victor and think about the love that God lays down. He says, this is love. Before you were powerful or beautiful or wonderful, before you had anything going for you, while you were wallowing in your own blood and death was certain, I picked you up and I loved you. I made you clean. I made you my own. I cherished you. He says, this is love. Like when a husband lays down his life for his wife and loves his bride as if she's the most beautiful thing he's ever seen or will ever see. This is love. When a bride entrusts herself to a husband, knowing that he loves her, this is love. This is love. When Christ laid down his life for us, to make us his own, to save us from death when we were powerless, he saved us. He sanctified us by washing us with water and the Word, cleansing us from every spot and blemish so that he could present us to himself as perfect, spotless, beautiful, beloved. This is love. And it is how God has loved every one of you in this room. He has loved you by laying down his life for you. He has loved you through baptism, by washing you in the water and through the Word. This is love, and it's for you.